Welcome back. This is Lunchtime News. I'm Jackie Wambiru. I'm joined by Dr. Boniface Oyugi, who is a UK-educated Kenyan alumni and knowledge with a knowledge economy. So we shall be discussing matters, career paths, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so now to kick us off, the number of Kenyans pursuing higher education in the UK has grown significantly in recent years. Perhaps what explains this surge?
Well, that's a very good question to start with. The level of education, particularly in the UK, is very high, comparable to other areas in the world. When you school in the UK, they don't just focus on cramming and downloading the information, particularly on exams. But when you school in the UK, you are taught more things that I often see are not taught in our local setting. The power of critical thinking, for example, it's done and it's taught to a lot of people, particularly in the UK, right from undergraduate. You realize that for those of us who schooled here at home, for instance, we learned how to write proper essays by visiting the UK. That's the first one. And the second thing is many opportunities come when you study abroad. There's the networks that you get. There's the networks, of course, with the classmates, because you go to class with a couple of guys who are very well established. They may be young, but they are very well established, and they provide good information, particularly for future networking. And I think I've noticed over time that when people who've schooled in the UK, for example, come back, I mean sub-Saharan Africa, we tend to have opportunities. And these opportunities come because of, one, name, and the second part particularly is also the thing you're able to do. We are introduced to so much computers. It doesn't mean that back at home we don't have. It's at a higher level. For example, use of softwares in different aspects of training and things like that. So I would say that despite being expensive, that it opens doors to many things. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've mentioned computing, engineering, perhaps we add business and allied health are among perhaps the fastest growing programs. Yeah. What does this shift say about Kenya's changing skills landscape?
No, that's actually also a very good question. Remember when we were doing the former higher education component, a lot of it was based on doing exams. They are the softer parts that were never trained, and if they were trained, they were never given an opportunity to practice them, or people had to go way over to really grasp the concept by themselves. So there's elements of communication, there's the element of speaking, there's the element of even debating. Very few people in our countries are able to debate. It doesn't mean that we are bad at it, but there's room for improvement. So sticking to your question, I know you've asked about the other elements of the education like computer science. Yes, back at home we do them and we produce very highly qualified individuals. But if you gel this with the education you seek abroad, then it becomes even better. You're exposed to coding at a very young age, for example. I'll give you an example. When I was doing my MSc, for instance, I was not very good at coding using the statistical softwares that are there. But then you realize you're in class with very young people who challenge you, and even the teachers challenge you to put your effort into this component. So that's a big thing. The engineering courses, the business courses, actuarial science is a common one, especially for Kenyans abroad as well. I mean, they tend to even give you an edge over for other students, particularly who learn back at home as well. So there is a change in our curriculum with the hope that it will become even better and we'll be able to compete effectively with the other people globally.
Mm-hmm. So there are often concerns about brain drain. Mm-hmm. Based on available data, yeah. Are UK-educated Kenyan students returning to contribute locally, mm-hmm. and in what ways? Again,
that's an interesting question. Yes, A brain drain is something that many of us worry about. We train a lot of people. We are training many nurses, for example, many doctors, many pharmacists. And at some point you realize that our market is fairly saturated in some of these courses. And so as an individual, for example, who has parents and things to do, who has responsibilities, then it becomes imperative to seek these opportunities, say, abroad. Does it mean that they are there to take all the responsibilities and educated people from us? I mean, my answer would be a no. So those of us who've gone to the UK system and have managed to come back, I think we've learned a couple of things. One of the things that I've learned is that you bring back value and you're able to train people, even in workplaces or universities, the things that you experience. And I've seen a majority of us come back. And for those who remain, I think I often notice that a lot of those who remain are for further pursuit of education. Say you go there as an undergraduate or you go there as a master student, you potentially may want to stay longer to even do your PhD. Because remember, back at home, for example, people who do PhDs take way longer time than it is in the UK. For the UK, for example, a master's degree takes between 9 months to 12 months. And comparatively, compare that with our system, particularly in Kenya, then you realize even the length of time is not very well defined. On paper, you know it takes 2 years. But some people doing MSc, for example, have taken up to many years, more than 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen people doing PhDs locally. I've taken even, say, 8 years, for example. These are things that the UK system is very well aligned, and it just allows you to, one, move faster, be critically competent very fast, and be able to associate with your networks very fast. I don't think it is more of a brain drain, but I think it is an opportunity to expand the knowledge. And when we come back, we are able to help in a couple of things. I mean, support government in policy making. That has been a key area that I've focused on or worked with. And I think it brings the respect. I mean, you're able to sit down with very well-educated people in our system, and given the knowledge that you acquired abroad, then, for example, you develop policies together. That's a big thing. Other people come back and struggle though, but when you find a footing, then we become very, the knowledge becomes very, very relevant.
How does the exposure to international research, innovation, and problem solving shape leadership potential when graduates return home?
I mean, it's a double sword, but it's a good thing. Let me start with the positive. The critical thinking allows you to question when you come back at home. Say, for example, we've recently changed our healthcare system, isn't it? We have very competent locals here in our countries who are at the policy level and making these policies. Now, with the exposure you get abroad, you have an opportunity to come and even adjust some of the policies or even propose adjustments to some of the policies. And my experience has showed me that with this education, then it is easier to be given that opportunity and even shape it. Now, the other part, although it may be negative, is that there's the fear of competition. Most people who, for example, go to the UK go when they're very young. And you find that when you come back home and you want to settle in, say, in a university to teach, the older generation are still grasping kind of power within the universities, especially to make decisions. But over time, I have noticed and realized that we are given an opportunity to actually determine and provide issues, or rather shape issues as they happen in the country. It's a positive thing. I think I have to recommend those who support us to go for these studies, insisting that if you are UK educated or if you are US educated and I gave you a scholarship, then it is up to you. It's mandatory for you to come back and shape some of the policies. And some of the things we do is, like one thing I learned is you take what is done abroad in terms of research, for example, and develop modules, and you bring it back home. And I've seen it changes students in a very positive way.
Yeah. Other than policy making, perhaps what gaps in Kenya's workforce are being filled by graduates coming back with these global skills?
I think the biggest would be communication. The biggest would be communication and just the ability to speak and discuss issues openly. There's a level of confidence that a UK graduate has, and I think it's based on the education we get. You are given an opportunity to question things. You are given an opportunity to write things and rewrite elements. You are given an opportunity to debate things. So those are different aspects from our education that those of us who've gone in the UK system come back and are often able to provide on the table. And people are listening. People are actually willing to give us an opportunity to do it. The only challenge is that one has to be very proactive. You have to be extremely proactive and able to maneuver your way through our home system. Because think about it, you would be, for example, a 20-year or a 22 or 3-year-old fellow who's done an MSc, and you've been put at a level with those who did MScs at 50s. Now, how do you convince these people that you are not a young man? It's the power of the brain. It's the power of the elements that you contribute in the system. It's the power of the elements that you contribute in research, for example. And this is important because it's accepted and appreciated back at home. I've seen other people, although, who struggle when they're back at home, but I've also seen people who've achieved and have really shaped our system. I can give a couple of examples. I mean, look at the President's advisory team. A lot of them are based on, or rather are composed of people who studied abroad. Is it by choice? I think it's by the virtue that you are taught to question things from a very critical perspective, which for me, I feel it's important. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm told we're out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.